This one is called the Most Broken Armor from Monster Hunter Worlds. I'm just taking a jab at it, but I think it's going to be Fatalis. I mean, just the best armor in the game. I mean, it had great slots, it had great skills. You can use it with any weapon in the game. It was pretty broken, but let's take a peek at the video.
When Capcom introduced Fatalis, the legendary Black Dragon, into Monster Hunter World Iceborne in October of 2020, it wasn't just another formidable monster for players to face. It also marked the arrival of one of the most powerful and controversial armor sets in the game's history.
And just to talk about, just briefly, when they said
marked the arrival of one of the most powerful and controversial armor.
Actually, this right here.
Just another formidable monster.
Fatalis was by far, in my opinion, the hardest monsters in Monster Hunter World games. All games. The siege was absolutely insane. It was a race to the finish line. I remember when Fatalis first came out, everyone was just going crazy and who could beat Fatalis first and blah blah blah. I can't remember who did it first, but I do remember watching Kanta beating Fatalis with nothing but explosive barrels. I'm pretty sure that it was Kanta. And at that time, I still haven't beaten Fatalis. So it gave me hope at that point to just understand that Fatalis was a monster that can be beaten. I think it was just the coolest thing ever. The first weapon I beat it with was the switch axe. And I feel like after I beat it, I'm not saying that I was the first one to beat it with a switch axe, but after I beat it, I felt like I saw a lot of people using the switch axe too and calling it the cheese weapon and whatever. But that was a very big time in just Monster Hunter history.
It also marked the arrival of one of the most powerful and controversial armor sets in the game's history. The Fatalis armor quickly became known as the most broken armor set in Monster Hunter World,
and it still is.
The gameplay landscape and significantly impacting the endgame experience.
Yeah, so I mean, even with Rise coming out and Sunbreak coming out, the Fatalis armor still like reigns supreme. Like, it still does, even, you know, to this day.
I will be going over why
there's
the Fatalis
nothing that's been better than it.
So overpowered and broken, how it disrupted the game's balance, and the broader implications for the player community. The Fatalis armor set was designed to embody the fearsome and
why can't this be over here too? I know we're getting that in Wilds, which is really cool, but it would have been nice to be able to swap armor pieces and whatnot.
Power of the Black Dragon,
layered armor.
Fatalis, a creature so powerful that it was considered a myth within the game's lore. The armor set not only provided high base defense, but also boasted a combination of skills that were unprecedented in their synergy and effectiveness.
Yep.
And the choice of skills as well, to note, were extremely top tier skills.
And yeah, like I said, the skills that you got on the armor, you could use it on anything.
So why was it good? So the Fatalis armor, let's start with its piece combinations. So if you start with 2 pieces, the armor would unlock the level caps of all the skills that you have,
which is crazy.
So if you did have, for example, Divine Blessing, this would go past its level 3 cap and you would be able to put that to level 5 and so forth.
This is so crazy.
Skills. Of course, not all skills have a level cap to unlock, but there were a handful that the player did have access to, and just wearing 2 pieces of Fatalis armor would allow the player to have this capability. And then if the player was to equip 4 pieces of Fatalis armor, it would give them access to true razor sharp or spare shot, depending on whether or not they're running a Blade Master build or a Gunner build. And all this would do is, for the Blade Masters, it would reduce the rate at which their sharpness depletes, and then
which was really good for the switch axe, because the switch axe sharpness goes down very, very fast. So having razor sharp just made it even better.
And for the gunner users, there was a small chance, I think it was 30% off the top of my head, where if you do shoot a shot of
Doesn't
any
waste
type of ammunition,
ammo.
it has a chance to not use up that ammo, which was very handy for if you were using clusters or crags and that more higher tier ammunition where you're not exactly wanting to expend it all, and if you are able to get some free shots in, that is greatly
Oh my
appreciated
goodness.
as a gunner. And this
I
will
can't
of
wait to
course
get back
be
to this fight
intrinsically
too.
in the armor set just for having 4 pieces equipped, which was insane. And then just to top it all off, if you did have 4 pieces equipped, you also get full health and stamina capacity at all times. So at the start of a quest you will have it, if you die you will have it, and this was just extremely helpful.
Very
so you
fantastic.
didn't have to make sure that you got that plus 50 when you're eating, and you can direct that elsewhere if need be. But just overall it was a very nice set of intrinsic skills to have right off the bat with this armor set. And then moving on to the armor sets themselves, so we had the alpha set, which of course is the general sets of Monster Hunter World's armors where there are less decoration slots but more of a put together build, and in this set it would provide some insane skills for non-mixed build players. It would give the player skills like stun resistance, critical eye, weakness exploit, handicraft, evade window, and all the while
It's just fantastic for all weapons, like I said before.
still offering a ridiculous amount of decoration slot potential, which is generally where the armor set is seen to be game breaking. And then as for the beta set, of course this is where there are less skills from the alpha set, but generally you usually have a few more decoration slots. But this beta set is where things get spicy, because of course, yes, we get less skills, but this armor set of all sets in the game goes
The slots were
above
just
and
crazy.
beyond, through the stratosphere, like onto other planets, in terms of how many decoration slots the player has access to.
And even just using this set here, you have 2 weakness exploit. You know, all you need is 3. You need 1 more in there. You have handicraft, phenomenal. Crit eye 2, and you have maxed out slots. For every armor piece, you have the maximum amount of slots, and you have the most that you can put in a slot for all slots.
Giving the player a blank canvas of high stat armor to slot
So you
in
could literally
their
put in
dream builds.
anything.
Not to mention the lower level skills of the skills I just mentioned, like critical eye and weakness exploit, still being in the armor to some degree, but of course just not as higher of a level. But the amount of decoration slots and the tier of the decoration slots that you get
My
in
goodness,
this
that's a
armor
lot of
set is
damage.
through the roof. And this is generally the
That's a lot of
reason as to
damage.
why so many people see this armor set as broken. The introduction of this armor set had a profound impact on the balance of Monster Hunter World and its endgame. Prior to its
Completely
release,
changed it.
players typically had to make significant trade-offs between offense, defense, and utility when selecting their armor sets and their mixed builds. For instance, opting for high damage builds often meant sacrificing some defense, or vice versa, making gameplay more challenging and strategic. But then you had the Fatalis armor that came along, which allowed players to have it all.
Everything.
Have a massive damage
Every
output,
single thing.
high survivability, and unparalleled flexibility and skill customization without.
And to be fair, I mean, just the difficulty level of this fight, it is good that they rewarded you with this good armor, because you got to do so much to beat Fatalis. You have to do a lot. So I think the armor that they give you, it just makes sense to give you that kind of armor from this kind of fight.
Even having to change their armor, instead just having a lot of decorations to be able to completely change the armor's direction and focus without taking a piece off. This newfound power would lead to a lot of the game's hardest contents becoming fairly simple.
Yeah,
Monsters
much
that
easier.
once posed a significant challenge, requiring careful planning and teamwork, became much easier to defeat. The Fatalis armor essentially removed the
that was
need
an
for
accident.
strategic planning, as players could rely on their armor's inherent strength to carry them through battles that would otherwise have required that careful preparation and
A lot more.
execution.
Oh yeah.
The armor's power also had a ripple effect on the multiplayer experience, as you'd expect, as in cooperative play, teams of hunters equipped with Fatalis armor could easily overpower monsters, leading to faster hunts and
Yep.
less reliance on team
Yep.
strategy.
And like I said, after finishing a hunt like that, I think it was just deserving of just the battle itself. I think you deserve some type of armor like that.
As for the community's response to the Fatalis armor,
I liked it. Before he goes into it, I did.
it was fairly mixed. On one hand, many players embraced the armor's power, relishing in the newfound ability to dominate the monsters that had previously given them trouble, and the armor set would become a symbol of achievement, a reward for overcoming one of the game's most challenging encounters. And for me personally, that is where I sit as well. I'm glad the Fatalis armor is as overpowered as it is, as Fatalis was not exactly an easy fight. And
it's very challenging.
To have slain Fatalis multiple times in order to get the monster's armor set, it definitely is worthy of what it is, and is a good little like send off to the player that they've completed world, or at least the most difficult monster in world. That of course there is Arch-Tempered Velkhana, which many could argue
that was challenging.
A fairly difficult monster for Iceborne's endgame. But Fatalis itself, of course, was that final monster that they added into the game that wasn't a variant of a monster that we already had, and it would challenge most of the players in Monster Hunter World.
Absolutely.
At least when it launched, and now, of course, people are probably killing Fatalis within 5 minutes. But as of the time it came out, I think it was perfect as that symbol of achievement from Capcom, that if you've killed Fatalis enough times, he is an armor set that you're going to go absolutely mop the floor with the rest of the game's roster. And then on the other hand, you had some players and critics lamenting the armor's effect on game balance. They argued that it would undermine, and it kind of did, the core principles of the Monster Hunter series, which traditionally emphasized careful planning, skillful execution, and strategic gameplay. And the Fatalis armor, in its broken state, turned the game into a more straightforward action experience where brute force often trumped tactical finesse.
So I completely understand that, argument that people are giving, but like I said, I believe if you fight one of the most challenging monsters in the game, especially if it's the last monster that comes out, I think it's worth it to get some armor like that. Because like he was saying, you wear it as like a badge of honor that you've beat Fatalis multiple times, because you're not going to get the full armor set plus the weapon and beating it in one hunt. That's not how that works. Unless you lost about 1,000 times and got lucky on pieces, and then you win that one time and you get everything you need. But again, that's very rare. That's something that's not going to happen. So after beating Fatalis, like I said, you should get something this good. And it's the last monster, right? And yes, beating him makes the entire game easier, but you have to get to him first, and then you have to beat him as well, right? Multiple times. And in my opinion, it doesn't matter, right, what the armor did or anything like that in terms of like how it changed the game, because it's the end of the game. Like, you beat Fatalis, you beat the game. So the fact that there's so much controversy about it is just kind of I don't know. I just don't understand it.
Long term, the introduction of the Fatalis armor set did highlight the challenges developers faced when adding powerful content to a live service game. While it did provide a thrilling and over-the-top reward for players, it also skewed the game's balance in a way that was difficult to rectify. Future content releases had to account for the power creep introduced by the Fatalis armor, and this would lead to, of course, design of monsters and quests that were forced to be able to match this armor set so it could challenge even the most overpowered hunters. And that's where we got the Arch-Tempered Velkhana fight. And I think they did a good job with amping that fight up.
I mean, they did really well.
Armor. And some could even argue that the Arch-Tempered Velkhana set, for at least Frost builds, is better than the Fatalis armor. or at least that's what I remember hearing. It's been a while
Yeah,
since I
I mean, the
looked
frost
into
is
that
good
debate,
for the
but
great
there were
sword.
quite a few
Huge,
people that
actually.
were claiming that. But of course, let me know down below in the comment section if you think there is a specific armor build that can be done much better using different pieces opposed to the Fatalis armor set. But with that said, guys, that does bring us to the end of this video. Let me know down below what you think of the Fatalis armor set, and if you like to use it or you like to avoid it because of how broken it is, as I'm sure the community will be split on this, but I would assume the majority will like to use the armor set, as
Oh yeah,
the game's way past its life.
yeah, I loved it. It was amazing. I mean, the armor looks cool too, by the way. It's just cool to get the amount of skills and slots that you did, because then you can like play around with different sets. You can play around with different weapons. I feel it probably encouraged other people to use different weapons and step outside of their box, because you have this armor that you can set it up however you want, right? So it makes things a lot more fun. So I like
life
it.
cycle now. It is a very good reward for endgame players that have done it all. They've
Agreed.
defeated the strongest monster in the game. I think it's a perfect sense of achievement, and it was a good testament to the power of a reward in a video game. But of course, once again, let me know your thoughts down below, and I look forward to seeing how the discussion continues. As always, a like would be extremely appreciated if you did enjoy
You
the
got
video.
it.
It does help out the channel a ton, and hopefully there should be a good resurgence on this channel. I am trying my best now to start planning out my videos properly, so I can get into the flow of it and make sure there's at least one video every week or two.
Well, you're doing amazing.
Yeah, guys, be sure to subscribe for a lot more Monster Hunter content. Monster Hunter Wilds is on the way. It looks fantastic. Like, I love the fact that you can have two weapons at once now. I did see a little clip of that not too long ago, which was absolutely insane. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to join our Discord. Links at the top of the description. I hope to see more of you guys in there. It is still very active, given my YouTube channel hasn't been that active, which is an absolute blessing to have such good individuals in there.
Good for you.
Thank you all so much for the support on that. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.
Alright guys, if you are not subscribed to the Hunter Project, I would highly recommend it. He makes really amazing videos, as you guys just saw. I have the video and the artist or content creator himself in the description as well. But it's a good video, great entertainment. Again, I like the Fatalis armor myself. Let me know what you guys think about it too.